Hello and welcome to the Astro Garden, a place for astrologers to chat all things astro. I'm your host Janessa of By Jove Astrology. Thanks for tuning in. All right, we're back today on the next episode of the Astro Garden. Today I have my good friend Shawna here with me. Hi, Shawna.
Hi, Janessa.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Shawna is a classmate of mine turned friend through Nightlight Astrology. We took year 1 together, year 2 together, and we are in a fabulous little collective called Astro Sophia Kairos, where we've been doing some monthly gathering, or not monthly, but gatherings throughout the year to celebrate the different changings of the light. So yeah, welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what got you into astrology? And yeah.
Sure. Hi, Shawna. Thanks for having me, Janessa. We've gone through year 1. We're in the middle of year 2. I'm also currently taking year 3 because, my plate's just not full enough. Still work a 9 to 5 as well. So busy. I also bit the bullet and I'm taking some of the more the specialized classes through Nightlight. I'm just an addict at this point. I also want to apologize if you can hear my dog in the background. He's very mad that he can't make a cameo right now. Sorry about that. My love of astrology started a very long time ago, about 30 years or so. Very, very minimal as far as traditional schooling and all that, until I heard one of Adam Ellenboss's calls for sign up during one of his daily YouTube videos back in October of 22, and I heard him say that there's tuition assistance available, and I just said what the hell and bit the bullet and signed up and met a bunch of lovely people, including yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always so curious too, like with your first experiences, 30 years ago, was it mainly like just horoscopes in the magazine, or like what were your first experiences like of astrology?
Yeah, I think at that time it's late 80s, early 90s, and everyone was very sun sign horoscopes, and you flipped your favorite teen magazine open and you found whatever you wanted to find out who your crush sun sign was and all that stuff. But one of the most vivid things I could remember was standing in the checkout line in the grocery store, and they had keychains for sale. And of course they were sun sign derived. And on one side of the keychain, it had the different symbols. And of course, well, I'm a Cancer rising, Cancer sun as well. So at the time, I didn't know anything about moon signs or rising signs or anything else. But this keychain had the little crab on the front with the little, symbol, the 6-9 symbol embedded in it. And it had on the back side a bunch of descriptions, positive, not so positive, and that sort of thing. And I begged my mom to get it. I don't know, $4 keychain or something. And the biggest reason was because in one of the description words, it said tenacious. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to find out. And that was one of my most vivid memories. So kind of silly, but it's fun.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that. That's so, I'm just picturing like the 90s so much with that. All of the imagery, the keychains, the sun signs, like, yeah, that's great.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, you were pretty lucky then, being a Cancer sun and Cancer rising, that you kind of got like a legit horoscope without
Yeah.
needing your rising sign.
Yeah, definitely. I always felt like my sun sign kind of was dead on, but again, I didn't know anything about rising signs or moon signs or all of the planetary influences then. So it worked out for me, and I couldn't understand why people would say, "Well, that doesn't make sense for me." Talking
Mhm.
about their other stuff, but it makes a ton of sense now.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I'm curious if you've had like throughout the years or if you've had interest if you've had a lot of pushback from people in your life or if that's hasn't really been a thing.
Um, when I get like close with someone, I end up as a chatter monkey. Like I don't know when to stop talking and I go on these crazy tangents. And I could never understand why until I really dove in and got to, do a deep dive in my own chart. But it makes so much sense now. Being a Cancer ascendant, I've got Gemini in the 12th house and I've got Mercury in Gemini. And our co-student and collective member, Krista, lovingly said one time, I imagine your brain as a bunch of bumblebees throwing lightning rods. And I'm like, that is dead on. But when I'm in a larger setting, when I'm, just kind of getting to know people, I'm very reserved and seem very introverted. And like I said to you, I have a tough time usually talking about myself. So this is awkward for me, but we're going with it anyway. Yeah, so all that 12th house stuff made a whole lot of sense. And, when I finally got to explore more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Um yeah, that's so interesting. Like 12th house, dark house placements in general, just like being visible and like it's a struggle for sure. I think
Yeah.
yeah, I've had some similar struggles with that. And I'm now clearly like branching out.
Mhm. That's so great too. It's so
Yeah.
great. It's hard to push yourself. It is. It's really hard. I think once you get over that hurdle though, you start finding your own space and carving your path, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Do you feel like astrology has like helped you with that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've made some wonderful friends through Nightlight for sure. Some very like-minded, met some like-minded people, and but I've really gotten to know myself a lot more over the last 18 months. Um, eclipse cycle, maybe. um, that dreaded eclipse word. Um, my relationship with my husband has just blossomed, I would say, over the last 6 to 9 months, because it really allowed me to kind of physically, literally, with a birth chart, get a snapshot, an image of what his starting point was, so I could meet him in the middle with a lot of things. Um, yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think I've had a lot of similar experiences too, where it's like really allowed me to understand myself better and people around me, navigating conflict, like just a really good tool for so many different scenarios like that.
For sure. When you can spot someone's having a very Marsy kind of day, you can figure out how to water that down a little bit, or,
Right.
make sure you smile a little extra more at them, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess with studying and like all of the intense focus that you've had for the past year or two, do you have any advice for people or like things you've learned that you wish you had learned sooner or favorite resources, or we can get into all of the above. That's a
Um,
lot.
that's okay. That's good though. Geez, I would say if you have any questions about it, just do it. Um, See if you fall in love with it. No doubt you probably will. If it's not for you, you'll find another branch of something. It'll lead you to where you're supposed to be. But resources, oh my gosh, I'm sitting next to and looking at, and the computer is stacked on loads of resources. Like I live in books.
Mhm.
My happiness is found in books a lot. So resources are a collection of mine for sure.
Mhm. What are you reading right now? Or astrologically speaking?
That's a different one. It's not just one. It can't be just one ever. Um, Krista mentioned the bumblebees and lightning rods. My husband said he imagines my brain as confetti cannons. And so that keeps coming up, which is making me laugh. But the top two books I have in my stack, which means they're the most recently read or peered at, 36 Secrets, because I'm doing more of a deep dive into the decans and tarot. Like a lot of people are, Aries starts with spring, and in modern, it's the astrological new year, so to speak. And then I just got this one and I'm excited about it. Kind of a nice little playoff. Rachel Pollack just released a new book in
Awesome.
23. Yeah, so she did. It's quite different. I expected it to be similar to the Susan Chang book, but it's really very different so far in the way she goes through the chart using cards. So I think they're going to be a nice little complement to each other, but those are the two on the top of the stack at the moment.
Nice. I didn't realize that. I've seen that Rachel Pollack one at the store, but I didn't realize, I didn't look closely enough at it and didn't realize it was actually Deccan related. So
It is, yeah. Like I said, it's not nearly the same as the Susan Chang, but I think they'll be a really cool complement.
yeah, I'm gonna have to check. I'm well aware of Susan Chang, but
Yeah,
to go back and revisit at
yeah.
the metaphysical shop. I might be making a stop there.
Did you check out I'm not on Facebook a ton anymore, but did you check out the Fortune's Wheelhouse Facebook group?
No, I haven't looked at that. I don't hardly use Facebook either.
Yeah.
Just when I do, but
Yeah, she's doing a deck and walk on her Facebook group. So to partner with the book. So that's kind of fun.
yeah, that's super cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, her work is so accessible and um really that it's such a wealth of resources within itself too. Like her writing is great, but then she like references so many different other books and images, and it's just like treasure treasure chest of like wisdom. I don't even know. It's so layered.
Definitely. She's I really connect with that actually. She's wonderful at imagery.
Mm-hmm.
I've apart from my mini obsession with astrology for several decades, I've got more tarot books I think on my shelf, and it never connected. And maybe it was an issue with the confetti cannons, not being able to focus enough or something,
Mm-hmm.
or the focus moves too quickly. But it never stuck with me, and I thought over the years, well, I'll try this deck because it's talking to me right now, and maybe it'll sit a little bit better. And then, the next year I'll try this deck because maybe it'll sit a little better. And nothing has really stuck the way that Susan Chang's descriptions have begun to stick with me. So the imagery is beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, she has so much of it available online too. It's like just such a generous resource too. I use it all the time, and I know a lot of people
Beekeeping.
do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no beekeeping with her. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me more about your tarot journey. I don't know as much about that, or do you feel?
Uh, I mean, I think I had my first reading at 18 or 19. Wasn't my idea. My future mother-in-law at the time had a girlfriend of hers who showed up one day and brought her cards with, and we all just sat around the kitchen table. And I had just never seen or felt quite as seen as I had. in that moment. And my future husband was there, and obviously his mom was there, and Sherry, I was trying to remember her name. Sherry, she was really great. I probably couldn't remember more than 3 words that she said to me, but remembering the emotion of the whole thing was very, very impactful. And it probably led me to my purchasing a deck, I don't know, within a year, and trying to learn, and felt like I could do readings for myself, but not really anyone else. I did start doing some readings for friends just for fun, more. I shouldn't say for fun. That doesn't sound respectful, but not for, financial gain, I guess is a better way to phrase it. But I did still find joy in it. So, yeah. And then I got a little spooked, honestly, because I did a reading for my husband's stepsister, probably 6 or 7 years ago now. And in an unfortunate way, I saw her mother's passing. And I tried very gently to not speak of anything in that way. And so that was really difficult, and kind of made me hang up my cards for a little while. But also it was a good demonstration of respect for what comes through, and for the oracle, or whatever you'd like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a difficult thing when it's not a positive message that you're getting.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's a gift. I think, it's a gift, whether it's positive or collectively negative. But I just wasn't prepared for it. And so it gave me a good reminder, and made me put that on pause for a while. So
yeah. I feel like I would have to do that too. I'm curious about the context. Was it something like, were they asking directly about that, or was it like just kind of out of the blue, or it's
a little bit, so it still feels a little fuzzy to me, but it's a little bit more like we were sitting at my mother-in-law's home. Like, she had a front room. We were all just kind of sitting on the floor. Myself, the sister-in-law, and her husband were just kind of hanging out. They're a little bit more boho than the rest of the family, so we end up kind of hanging out together a little bit. We still don't have a ton of things in common, but it's just a mutual respect. I mean, I love her. But I think she was just asking some questions about what, the next year or two held for her. I think her husband was in a bit of a flux. Her job was in a bit of a flux. And so I think she was just looking for some general stuff. And it was shortly after that her mom got ill. So nobody knew that her mom was ill at the time. And so when you see certain things come up and you're not prepared for them, you don't anticipate them, it's it's really comfortable,
Totally. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's so, there's a lot there.
I do that.
No, I appreciate it. And I'm thinking more, steering it along the lines of like how divination works, right? And how it's like this third party, or the universe, or God, or whatever your beliefs are. Like, it really is not. It's really that coming through, and it's not us. So it's having that respect and having the awareness is really key going into any of it.
Yeah. And in that instance, I just genuinely wasn't prepared.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it still like happening that way, you know, for anyone, but yeah.
Yeah, I think astrologers get a lot of those questions like, well, you know, what does my love life look like? When do I get my, my next big break at work? Or, um, how are the next 6 months going to look for me? Like that kind of thing. And I think sometimes the oracle just wants to say what it needs to say. And trying to maintain an air of no expectations, I think is challenging, but also necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, and walking the line between not wanting to sugarcoat things and also like wanting to be real with people and um, help them in any way that you can, as gently as you can, and that is totally like I'm learning more and more that that's that's like actually maybe the bigger part of being an astrologer is like that counseling part, right? Like we can learn all the facts and all of the techniques and the logic, but having the skills to like walk people through what you do find is maybe a bigger part of it than anything.
Yeah. Being able to hold space, especially in those, darker moments is huge.
Hmm.
Yeah. Really huge.
Yeah. I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but I feel like it's tangentially related. And if we don't want to go there, we don't have to, but um, did you want to talk about ghosts? I don't know any ghost
Yeah,
stories of yours, but it seems to be something that's come up in the group chat or alluded to that I haven't heard yet.
I have very, oh,
You don't
yes,
share, we
we
don't have to
can.
share.
Yes, we can. I just feel like they lackluster is all. um, oh gosh. I don't know. When I was 10-ish, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, sounds so surreal. Um, I used to feel like I had a difficult time sleeping because I was an only child at the time. My brother is almost 11 years younger than me, had my own room, that sort of thing. But used to have trouble getting to sleep because there were kids that played in my room. Yeah. Sister and a little brother. I never actually saw them. It was just like a feeling. So, if you don't believe in this kind of thing, that's fine. Chalk it up to hyper imagination or whatever. I'm okay with that too, but because it does make me sound crazy. But frequently I'd get like taps on the shoulder, taps on the hip, a little shove here and there. Nothing, violent or crazy. Probably the weirdest time with those two, it was a boy and a girl. She was older, and I always feel like I see them wearing like a little bonnet and um I don't know. I don't know what era. Maybe 1800s type garb, early 1800s. It's so weird. It's so
Mhm.
weird. We'll chalk it up to imagination. I don't know.
No.
But the weirdest time was I was trying so hard to get to sleep, and they were just being extremely rambunctious. Um, and I threw my blanket over my head. And when I opened my eyes under the blanket, the little boy was right in front of me, but he was wearing like a George Washington mask. Like, yeah, it was kind of creepy because it was the teeth. That's what I remember, like George Washington's wooden dentures or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think you can make this up. This is pretty intense.
I proceeded to fling the blanket off my head because I didn't want to be under the blanket with George Washington.
Yeah. No, why would you?
Gosh, I'm not sure what other. I mean, I've had some weird things happen, but my husband, who we started dating when we were teenagers. I was 16. And I should not admit to this, but I would sneak him into my room. Uh, like through the window. Anyway, so I didn't admit to that. Mom, if you're watching, she knows it's fine. Um, he validated me in that I had told him about this and he thought I was crazy. He's a double cap sun, cap rising. But he validated me, although he was hiding in his girlfriend's room. So I don't know. Maybe it was just appeasement, but I don't think so. He's too grounded for that. Oh, I'm just telling all the things. See, like I said, when I get talking, you can't shut me up.
Perfect. Keep going.
So weird. But otherwise, I mean, I love spending time in cemeteries. I just think they're really, really peaceful. My mind wanders and I, enjoy seeing all the names and all the dates and just have this huge fascination with their stories. I don't go home and research anybody or anything like that. I want to be respectful, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
No, thanks for sharing that. It's so interesting. I feel like it's all interrelated, it's like, I think when I think about how astrology works, it makes me think about how everything works, right? Because if it works, like we know that it does, like,
Yeah,
then what else is there? And I mean, for me, that's been like one of like the biggest eye openers is like, okay, what logically, like, what does this mean? There are bigger implications than like,
sure. Yeah,
than what, just horoscopes. So,
absolutely. It's just like a peek behind the curtain,
mhm.
and if you're not ready to meet the wizard,
Yeah.
uh, it can be an intense and sometimes rude awakening. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm curious about like talking about, you know, how it works. Like if you have any theories or like thoughts on that that you want to share. It's so ethereal. I know it can be really hard to like talk about, but yeah, I don't know if you have anything.
On how it works.
Yeah.
I couldn't begin to explain it, but I can probably tell you how I felt
Mhm.
at one point when, after studying this just a little bit, maybe a few months, um, I went back to my own chart because that's what you do, right? When you're learning astrology, it can be so helpful to be like keep it in that biographical avenue to your own stories. So it's very easy to go back and maybe pick poignant moments in your own life and take a look at the transits and all that. And I was doing that. I think it was just a few months in. And I just had this moment where um, I felt so incredibly held by the universe because I come from I mean, a lot of us have stories and backgrounds that aren't great. But I do come from a pretty challenging family childhood situation. For those of you who do already study astrology, I have Saturn and Mars at 15 and 16 degrees in the fourth house in Libra. So, yay. Pluto's also co-present. So I have both of the malefics in my fourth house of home and family. And that moment there, when I realized, it just kind of felt like, okay, there was a reason. I didn't feel any blame on the universe, anything like that. I just felt so incredibly held, and that someone had my back. Whatever that someone or something is, that was huge. That was so huge for me. And I think that that can happen for a lot of people too, if they don't have a support system or, come from, you know, lost roots, that sort of thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. That's really beautiful for sharing that. Yeah, I think that's been one of my biggest takeaways too, is like, wow, okay, like that it explains so much about yourself, and also like the I don't think I ever thought so much was like so fated before. Like I totally believe in that we have some amount of free will, but I don't know how much we have. And like how it's really called into question, like I guess I still struggle with it, like even now just talking about it, like what is it, like 50-50? Is it like 90-10? Like I don't know. I don't think it's as much as most people would think, as far as our free will goes. Um, and just seeing the birth charts and how they play out for people, and it's
Yeah.
like there's no way. Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
wild, right? Like
It's funny. My MC, so Cancer rising, which puts Pisces in my ninth house. Ninth house oftentimes has a lot to do with religion or religious theory or something. And I've always been fascinated. Um, in addition, my father was a uh, minister
mm,
for a number of years. Um, I myself got ordained during 2020. I just have a fascination with the concept of religion, how people maintain their faith. But when it comes to fate and free will, it's kind of like um, you're handed a toolbox when you're born, and you decide what you want to make with those tools.
mhm,
You know, um, you can get all the same supplies that will help you build a house as it will help you, build a school. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think
mhm,
that was a little muddled, but yeah, I think you're given a toolbox, and how you decide to use those tools is where the free will part comes in.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. You kind of glossed over it, but you said you got ordained in 2020?
Yeah, I did. I've done nothing with it, but I did.
Like
Um,
real ordained or like online, like
I did an
the
online. I mean, it's legit, but I did an online. Hmm.
sure, but not like the thing you do to like officiate a wedding or something. Like you did a
Yes.
course. You took a
To
class. Yeah, or what did you do? Tell me. Tell me
go
everything.
to officiate a wedding, to be able to,
Okay.
yes, to be able to do those sorts of things. So,
Okay.
have I
That's
done anything with it? No, because I completely forgot about it up
sure.
until 4 months ago.
That's amazing though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're ready. You're ready if anyone needs one. You've got it.
There we go. Give me a call.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with the fate and free will too, it's like, sure. And then you're given the tools, and like that kind of, we see that in the birth chart, what our skills are, what our struggles are. But it's so interesting too, how like some of those things can speak to like specific events, and like, and then it comes into question again. Like, okay, sure, I have like these tools, but like what can I do when these fated events happen? I'm not saying that there's anything to be done or not be done, but I just,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And I mean, honestly, that's where the transits come in.
Mhm.
Right? So it's like, okay, you're given these tools and you have these supplies, but the world still keeps moving around you.
Right.
Everything keeps happening around you. And hey, you're going to meet somebody else who you collaborate with. And all of a sudden, you've got access to a whole new set of tools that you can maybe borrow for a time, or maybe you guys exchange. Um,
Mhm.
and it allows you to branch out and change things a little bit, not necessarily change your stars, but opens new doors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I lost my train of thought. Um,
That's okay. We'll find a new track.
Uh, I don't know. Um, hmm.
We can double back to ghosts for a second if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, like in more recent years, because I'm no longer in more recent years, like if I just, do you ever just feel people around you? Like, do you ever feel like
Occasionally.
name, like things like that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. My mom and her entire family are from the South, so it always makes me a little leery when I hear my name whispered, because my great grandma used to say, if you hear your name whispered, it's the devil calling you. And I'm like, well, that's just wrong. We know way too many people that have crossed over that I don't think it's the devil. Or you catch a whiff of something like someone's cologne or something like that, and it's like a nice little nod to, hey, I'm still here, I'm still with you, kind of a thing. But no one's tapped me on the shoulder lately.
Yeah. It's funny you say the smell thing. Recently, one of in the past couple of years, my mom is one of like 11 kids, so I have a ton of aunts. Most of them are women. It's like, or most of her siblings are women. But the oldest one was like the matriarch of the family. I think I've probably mentioned her in the group chat, but she and I got close like as an adult. She lived up here in Minnesota, and we just went through some periods where we were both like single, and I would hang out with her like, maybe once a month or something, and it was just really nice to get to know her. Yeah, like she was kind of like a grandmother figure. My mom is the youngest of 11 and she was the oldest, so there was a big age gap. So she really was more like a grandmother, I guess. But anyway, she passed away from cancer a couple years ago now. I was pregnant with my youngest, and I think that was in like May. And then for Christmas or maybe it was for like the following Valentine. There was I don't think it was Christmas. I think maybe it was like the following Valentine's Day. I got the kids just some like super cheap, like from the dollar section at Target, like these yoga mats, like just because, winter in Minnesota, it's like, can do yoga around the house. And they're both like sealed in plastic. And when they opened them, the one that was like this purple color, which is totally like her color, just smelled like her perfume. It was like so strong. Like to this day, it just like baffles me. Like I don't understand how this thing could smell like her. But yeah, it was so weird, but really cool. Yeah, the smell thing really resonates for sure.
The smell thing is huge. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people think, oh, an anniversary, I hope for some kind of message or a special day, but Wednesdays can be special. The dollar section at Target can be special. Like it's literally what you make it. It's where you find appreciation and gratitude, and those things lead to joy. So, that's really wonderful. I would treasure that. Sure.
Yeah. Astrology in general, I think, has helped me be more observant of those types of things and like really allow myself to believe that they are significant, and that it's not just like a silly little thing or a weird thought that I had. It's like, no, that's like legitimate. And I could probably, now that I'm where I am, like, I don't know if I was even studying astrology quite then, but I'm sure I could look back at the transits and be like, oh yeah, like the moon was it was like her lunar return, or, like find.
Yeah.
that would tie to it. So yeah, just having that language, like another language for it, and legitimizing so much of life and making it more enjoyable, like you said, and like finding those little joys and celebrating them. And
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, it's so difficult when you lose someone that's close to you, of course, but, um, when you have the chance to remember them, it's just like you get to feel a little bit more of that. Yes, sometimes sadness, but a little more of that time you spent together and a little bit more of that love for them. And it's just a nice little way to remember them and have your nostalgia. Perfect time, Saturn and Pisces, right?
Totally.
Talking about that, yeah. Um, but yeah, I think people forget that you can find an omen wherever you need to find an omen. I used to be, I'm still semi-closeted with astrology because I do work a 9 to 5 and the public image and this, that, and the other. But, it really, astrology in and of itself really allows you to tether yourself back to nature, I think, as well. Like we do with our group with Ask, it's, we just get to observe the changing of the light, which is all based in astrology, which is all based back in nature. I mean, it's just everything is tied together and cyclical. It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, totally. It's like it gives a time and a place for everything, and like all of the reasoning behind it. And yeah, it's really beautiful.
And I really think it can tie you back. I mean, the kind of astrology that we've been lucky to study is Hellenistic, so it's quite ancient. But it's also a nice reminder that no matter how much things have changed, there's still, if you go back to basics, it's still, we're still humans. It's still nature. It's still somewhat predictable.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been helpful, like studying Hellenistic in particular, where it is really derived from the quality of light, is like that's been a really good way for me to also get out of my devices or whatever, like get out of using my phone. And like I'm still very addicted, just like probably a lot of us.
Like everybody. Yeah. We can't function without them anymore, but
right. But it has given me another reason to put it down and like observe the natural world. And like, mindfulness is kind of like a buzzword, but it's very, very true, or very like very much a description of like what astrology is also able to provide, I think.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Even just as simply put as it lets me go outside at night and stare at the sky again.
Yeah.
Do it when I was a kid. I'd look for the moon, and even now I'd still get January. So that would put the moon in Cancer, right? Yeah, full moon comes straight through my bedroom window every time. So, but I'm for it, I seek it. Yeah, so just an excuse to go stare at the stars a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, even now I'm like looking out the window and I can see there's like shadows on the snow, which is like a big deal in this time of year. It's like the sun isn't usually this strong. Like it's definitely gaining strength and is still high enough in the sky where there is a shadow at 3 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. So, yeah. Well, I guess, did you have anything else that you wanted to dive into, or?
I don't know. I think I made some pretty good tangents.
Yeah, no, this is great.
Road.
Love it. Well, thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And we don't get to talk, just you and I, too often. So
I know.
I appreciate it. Good. Most of the time I'm just throwing snarky little jokes, if not crude jokes in our group chat, playing on the moment.
Appreciated as well.
So yeah, I am a little different one-on-one, I think. Still a bit, awkward and whatever, true to form. But
myself included.
But thank you for inviting me, and I've enjoyed our talk and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can we find you? I meant to ask that at the beginning, but I missed it.
Sure. Oh, that's okay.
Where can we find you, and you're opening your book soon, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am. I'm hoping soon. So this morning, actually, we did a YouTube live for our group Ask, that celebrates the Sabbats. The most recent one we did was for Ostara, the solstice, or the spring equinox, excuse me. But there were so many transits for April that we just couldn't fit it all in and respect everyone's time. So we did a YouTube live this morning that went on for a couple of hours. So you can find me there with our Ask Astro Sophia Kairos group. On Instagram, my handle is Figures of Heaven, derived from William Lilly. And on X or Twitter, I am Smart Astro. The word smart _Astro with 2 S's, because yes, I am. Books will be opening soon. I'm hoping that I can add that link to all of the places. So yeah, until then, you can DM if you want to catch up with me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shawna. Really appreciate it, and lovely to chat with you.
Thanks. You too.
Take care.
All right, bye.
You can find more of Shawna's work at her website, www.smartastro.com, or on social media at smart_astro. That's with 2 S's, people, not a typo. She's a smartass. For more information about my work, you can find me at By Jove Astro on Instagram, at By Jove Astrology on Twitter, and the best place to find me of all is at my website, byjoveastrology.com.